Hi, and welcome to this intellectual internet platform/channel from YouTube called From the Arts.
The channel where problems get solved with informed decisions, hugs, and no ABCs.
The names of the present hosts are
Carlos Alonso Roque Palacios,
Bárbara Rodríguez de la Torre,
and me, Eunice Victoria González Real from University of Monterrey. Stay tuned and thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed our video.
Art is one of the most important humanistic areas in history and modern careers, since many people live off by being artists, and today's circumstances during the pandemic are not the exception. Have you ever wondered why art is one of the most undervalued subjects? We are going to try to explain it, why the lack of art education is a problem, and what we can do to solve it. Art has been part of human culture since we have memory from many years. Learning about it will help us better understand our ancestors. It is also important to promote creativity among people in developing a more independent thinking and reflective mind. When someone learns about art, they learn about reflection and deep analysis, leading to critical thinking. Other advantages found are the development and understanding of complex language and symbolism. In summary, art is a really good and interesting humanistic area that works not only for developing creative skills, but also the developing of complex understandings and forms of communication and culture. Unfortunately, art has been undervalued in recent years because it's seen as an unreliable source of income, which can be very harmful in a capitalist society. Art is also seen as childish. Art is perceived as less important because people compare it to other subjects like math and science and decide that art isn't as essential as them. In society's eye, anyone can do art. Society ignores the amount of effort and studies that go into creating a piece that can convey feelings properly.
Another way art is constantly insulted is when people go to art galleries and fail to understand what they are looking at. Now, not understanding something is not a crime. The insult comes when people try to undermine the piece by saying condescending remarks like, "This could have been done by my child," or "me," or "That isn't even that pretty to look at." Saying that something could have been done by someone else is not a valid criticism because the entire point is that they didn't. They didn't create the piece, and they didn't convey what the original artist wanted to convey. So it is derogatory to think that something isn't art because it doesn't fit your idea of it. People have the misconception that art should look like a Renaissance painting, and therefore anything that does not belong in those standards are not valid forms of art. But there is no definition of what art should be other than the application of human imagination. And contrary to popular belief, art doesn't have to be pretty. Art's only purpose is to express something, to tell a story.
In the teaching and learning of art, it is necessary to guarantee an artistic pedagogical practice that cultivates both in teachers and students the ability to experience the world in new ways, to stimulate the imagination to be able to imagine beyond what that is represented to us as something tangible that we can see, taste, touch, hear, or smell. Education through art provides spaces for the use of cognitive, affective, and behavioral resources that a child requires to solve daily situations of social interaction. This will depend on the perception of their own abilities to generate alternative solutions to a problem, to regulate your emotions, to think about the consequences of each action, and finally, to make the best decision.
One of the possible reasons art is discerned as childish is because it is used a lot when people are toddlers as teaching methods, and as they grow up, the school system keeps taking away their opportunities to let their creative juices flow. As kids grow older, art is usually taught as an elective, or a subject of less importance, in the off case that it is taught at all. If someone chooses to pursue art, they are usually mocked and threatened with phrases like, "You will starve to death if you don't choose a real job." And in a twisted sense, they are right. Art is not seen as a career worth pursuing. The amount of art jobs with reasonable hours and livable wages are very rare. A lot of artists are overworked to the point of exhaustion, and their paycheck isn't enough to justify the physical toll that their profession is putting on them.
Art schools are some of the hardest schools to get into. The entrance rates are very low, so there is a lot of competition among applicants. If they don't have low entrance rates, then they are usually very expensive, making them more inaccessible to aspiring artists of all backgrounds.
Because of this, art can be sometimes considered as a career choice for the private sector and inaccessible for the public sectors or poorer people, making these problems more noticeable in how art is more valued in an academic way than in a general public way. Another reason why the public sectors can give art lessons is because of the lack of resources for good education to teach art. Culture also is underestimated to just history and geography, while art is perceived by the public sector as a hobby or a career for rich people, rather than an opportunity to enrich yourself with culture. There are a vast amount of excuses on why art is not taught. For example, that the dynamic doesn't work for the student studies. Also that educational systems consider that art is just increasing the pressure of students to do childish things for obligation, which now we know that's a lie, since art can promote more creativeness and thus entertainment to the mind.
Education in art is important to teach from childhood, as this will develop more skills as a child. This in a school has to be taken into account from the child's scribbles. It has to be appreciated even if they seem insignificant or do not represent anything, since this can leave the creativity since childhood or that it develops, which is also very important from the learning of this, and not making fun of what his work is, or that this can cause him that he also sees it as something that he is always doing wrong, and this can cause that in the future he no longer gives him the importance due to art, or that he simply no longer sees it the same.
Some solutions we came up with to solve this problem were to start teaching other subjects to art. Art contains a lot of academic elements like math and history, and if they are taught in a creative way, it might be easier to learn more than one subject at once. Another great way to solve this problem is to have people educate themselves. If schools didn't want to teach you to be creative, there is nothing stopping you from doing it yourself. As for solutions for artists in communities that want to promote art, you can create new art communities for people to join and share their art as well as expose their talents and creativeness. Other solutions is to also inform people about art and their benefits in a creative and interesting way. To the general public, also to promote it is a fun and entertaining exercise for people to enjoy art. Social media is a good platform for spreading information such as YouTube videos or TikToks.
There really is no guide to what art should look like. Art is an expression of the self that is way more important than most people realize. The amount of information that a piece can teach is outstanding, but most people don't know how to read it in order to educate themselves. All important subjects have a part in art one way or another, so teaching it more efficiently will end up being more beneficial in the long run.
And with the modern age of technologies, implementing art to the general public is so much easier and people can share more efficiently their passion. There's no limit of creativeness. The only limit is the user himself.